guys, I'm J.C.Hollywood. This is This Week in the 80s for the week beginning May 7th. We begin this week once again at the Eurovision Song Contest on May 9th, 1987, where an Australian-born Irishman became the first person to win the contest twice. Johnny Logan was born in Frankston, Victoria, and first won the competition in 1980 with the song What's Another Year. He would win it again just 4 days shy of his 33rd birthday with the song Hold Me Now. The song, which Logan wrote himself, would go on to become a major European hit, reaching number 2 in the UK charts. Back in Australia, this week in 1984 would see Weird Al Yankovic claim top spot with his Michael Jackson parody, Eat It. The song would go on to win him a Grammy Award and take him from an unknown to, in his own words, a guy that got recognised at Burger King. As an interesting side note, while Eat It claimed the top spot, its inspiration song, Beat It, peaked at number 2. May the 12th, 1986 would see another comedy song in the number 1 spot. This time it was Cliff Richard and the Young Ones with Living Doll beginning a 6-week domination of the Australian charts. The song, a cover of Richard's own 1959 hit, was recorded for the Comic Relief charity and had already reached number 1 in the UK, staying there for 3 weeks. It came almost 2 years after the final episode of The Young Ones, which famously finished with the characters driving a bus through a Cliff Richard billboard and off a cliff. On May 13, 1985, one of the most iconic albums of the 80s was released with Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms. The album was an instant hit, spending 9 weeks in the number 1 position in the US, 10 weeks in the UK, and a massive 34 weeks on the Australian charts. It would become the highest selling album of the 80s in the UK, even outselling Michael Jackson's Thriller, and it would become the first CD ever to sell over 1 million copies. All of this despite a generally negative critical response, with one UK critic giving the album 1 star, stating that this is like any other Dire Straits album quarried out of the tottering edifice of middle-of-the-road rock. May the 9th gave us the 1980 release of Friday the 13th and the 1986 release of Short Circuit, while May the 11th, 1984 saw the Robert Redford drama The Natural knock Breakin' out of top spot in its first week of release. Not to be outdone, May the 10th, 1984 saw the release of the 3rd film in the Breakin' franchise, this one starring Mario Van Peebles, titled simply Rappin'. The film, starring Peebles as an ex-con / breakdancer, was generally considered a flop and disappeared from cinemas 2 weeks later. Speaking of general flops, May the 13th, 1989 gave us one of the first big screen appearances of Jim Carrey in the film Earth Girls Are Easy. The film, a musical about 3 aliens who travel to Earth in search of female companionship, was described by critic Roger Ebert as silly, predictable, and about as permanent as a feather on the wind. We end this week with the rather sad news of the passing of Bob Marley on May the 11th, 1981 in Miami, Florida. As part of his eulogy, Jamaican Prime Minister Edward Seaga said of Marley, "His voice was an omnipresent cry in our electronic world. Such a man cannot be erased from the mind." Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you back here next week for more This Week in the 80s.